I never imagined I'd become the person sharing a classic Karen encounter, but that's exactly where I find myself. My name is Michael, and I relocated to Oak Ridge Estates roughly 18 months ago. It's a stunning subdivision featuring perfectly trimmed lawns, uniform mailboxes, and a homeowners association managed with almost regimented efficiency by one Karen Wilcox. Right from the start, Karen established that the HOA rules weren't mere suggestions. To her, they were sacred decrees. Her neatly styled silver bob and constant companion, a clipboard, quickly turned into omens of disapproval throughout the neighborhood. My initial clash with Karen occurred just 3 days after I moved in, when she taped a bright pink violation notice to my front door regarding my trash cans remaining visible from the road 2 hours past pickup. In Section 12.3 of the Community Standards, all refuse containers must be concealed from street view no later than p.m. On collection day, she had scrawled in remarkably forceful penmanship. I followed the directive, relocating them to my garage, yet that initial citation apparently marked me as a target in Karen's eyes. In the months that followed, I was hit with infractions for nearly every conceivable infraction. My lawn grew a mere half-inch beyond the allowed height. My seasonal lights and ornaments appeared 3 days before the designated start of holiday decorating. My vehicle sat in the driveway instead of the garage for an entire day while I sorted out storage items. Every notice arrived accompanied by an in-person lecture from Karen, who appeared to derive genuine satisfaction from detailing precisely which regulation I'd breached and the escalating penalties I'd incur for ongoing defiance. I attempted a courteous strategy, showing up to HOA gatherings and proposing sensible changes to some of the stricter policies. This only intensified Karen's obsession with me. During each session, she would cut off my suggestions with, "Having served as president of this association for 8 straight terms, I believe I know what's truly best for our community." Her voice always dripped with that patronizing politeness that caused multiple residents to shift uncomfortably. Matters worsened when I decided to repaint my entrance door. The shade was officially sanctioned Oak Ridge Estates Regulation Blue Number 4, but Karen maintained it was, in fact, Regulation Blue Number 5, utterly unsuitable for a door facing north. She convened an urgent HOA session over it, a genuine emergency assembly, over a hue difference, practically impossible to detect. That's the moment I understood Karen wasn't simply fond of upholding standards. She craved dominance over every aspect and individual in her surroundings. The serious conflict started last Tuesday with my mother's visit. Mom is 72 and has been dealing with ongoing medical challenges, yet she was determined to drive the 3 hours to tour my new home. All was well until that night, when she commented on feeling exceptionally fatigued and experiencing chest tightness. As her color drained and breathing grew labored, I acted immediately. I dialed 911. The operator confirmed responders were en route and instructed me to help her stay calm. I guided her to the couch in the living room so she could rest flat, and I propped open the front door for easy access by the EMTs upon arrival. That's when Karen's distinctive voice echoed from my driveway. "Excuse me, but what precisely do you believe you're doing?" she inquired in that grating manner that had become the recurring dread of my daily life. I went out to see Karen, positioned beside my mother's vehicle, which was parked behind mine on the driveway. "My mom's experiencing chest pain. I've summoned an ambulance," I said, struggling to remain composed amid the rising panic. Karen's face remained impassive. No trace of worry appeared. "Well, per Section 8.7 of our bylaws, homeowners are restricted to 2 vehicles on the driveway, and this is obviously a third," she stated, pointing at my work van, my everyday car, and now my mother's sedan. "One must be relocated right away, or you'll receive a citation." I was stunned by her words. "Karen, this is a medical emergency. My mother requires help. Parking can wait." Karen's gaze sharpened as she retrieved her phone. "Regulations don't pause for individual circumstances, Michael. That's precisely why they exist. I'm recording this infraction, and a penalty will apply. The longer that extra vehicle stays, the steeper the charge." I was on the verge of replying when the wail of the ambulance grew nearer. A wave of relief hit me. Assistance was moments away. I started heading back indoors to my mother when Karen's vehicle door shut with force. In utter astonishment, I saw her reverse her white Mercedes SUV right behind my mother's car, completely trapping both vehicles in the driveway. "What are you doing?" I shouted, my composure at last shattering. Karen stepped out of her SUV wearing the most self-satisfied smirk I'd ever seen. "I'm remaining exactly here until one of these cars is relocated in accordance with HOA regulations. I've requested compliance politely, and you've chosen not to cooperate." The ambulance arrived at the curb, but Karen's vehicle completely prevented it from reaching my driveway. 2 EMTs leaped out with their gear, surveying the absurd confrontation with obvious bewilderment. "Sir, we received a report of a potential heart issue," one shouted. "Yes, my mother's inside, but as you can see, there's a problem getting to the driveway," I replied, pointing toward Karen and her deliberate obstruction. The EMTs shared a quick look, evidently struggling to process the strange scene. One walked straight up to Karen. "Ma'am, we require access to bring our stretcher to the patient. Would you please relocate your vehicle?" Karen folded her arms and raised her chin defiantly. "Not until one of the vehicles on this driveway is removed to meet community standards. I'm the HOA president, and it's my duty to uphold our bylaws." The EMT's calm facade briefly faltered as he gazed at Karen in astonishment. "Ma'am, this is a medical emergency. We need access right away, and I need immediate adherence to Section 8(7), Karen shot back, showing no trace of irony or awareness. She even glanced at her watch pointedly. "Every minute this infraction continues is adding to the penalty." The other EMT was already on his radio, and I overheard him say, "Dispatch, we have a person preventing emergency vehicle entry, sending for law enforcement support at this address." He then addressed me. "Sir, we'll carry our gear across the lawn. Lead us to the patient." As the EMTs trailed me indoors with their kits, I could still hear Karen yelling about property line rules and potential grass damage infractions. I concentrated fully on my mother, who fortunately remained stable, though obviously uncomfortable. The EMTs started their evaluation right away, checking her vital signs and inquiring about her health background. Through the open entrance, I caught the sound of approaching police sirens. By the time the officers pulled up, the EMTs had concluded that my mother required immediate hospital transport for additional tests. The challenge remained, moving the stretcher to the ambulance while Karen continued blocking the driveway. I went back outside with one EMT to discover 2 police officers trying to negotiate with Karen, who was now reciting HOA rules word for word, including exact section references and subclauses. Her tone carried that familiar self-righteous fury that appeared whenever anyone questioned her. "Ma'am, you must move your vehicle without delay," one officer declared sternly. "You're hindering emergency medical response, which is against the law." Karen's cheeks turned crimson. "I'm protecting binding community agreements. Do you realize how home values drop when standards aren't maintained?" The officer's tolerance was clearly fading. "Ma'am, this is your last chance. Relocate your vehicle now, or you'll be placed under arrest for obstructing emergency services." That's when Karen committed the error that would ultimately end her HOA dominance. She stared directly at the officer and declared with total assurance, "I will not move until correct HOA procedures are observed. If you want this car relocated, you'll have to submit a written request to the board, which convenes on the first Tuesday of every month." What followed was truly spectacular. The officers shared a brief look, and one promptly produced handcuffs while the other started reading Miranda rights. Karen's face shifted from arrogant confidence to pure shock as the true weight of real legal consequences, not her imagined ones, sank in. "You're arresting me? Do you know who I am?" she protested as the cuffs locked shut. Her pitch climbed noticeably higher. "I've served as president of this HOA for 8 years. You can't do this. Ma'am, you're under arrest for obstruction of emergency services and interference with medical personnel," the officer stated evenly, as he escorted her to the squad car. "You have the right to remain silent." As Karen was seated in the rear of the cruiser, still ranting about property values and neighborhood guidelines, another officer shifted her vehicle aside so the EMTs could wheel my mother out. The whole community had come out to watch Karen's humiliation. Many residents made no effort to conceal their approval. 3 days afterward, I went to an emergency HOA board session. A legitimate emergency this time. Karen's behavior had hit the local news, including body cam video of her declining to move while EMTs attempted to treat a patient. The board unanimously voted to strip her of her presidency and board membership, effective at once. The vice president revealed that Karen faced criminal charges with possible incarceration and hefty penalties, plus a civil suit from the fire department. When Karen entered the community center expecting a victorious comeback, she was instead given an official letter outlining her ouster. Her expression twisted in denial as she scanned the paper, her hands trembling violently. "This is a breach of. This can't. You can't do this. I am the HOA," she stammered, her voice breaking as the full impact of her circumstances finally struck.